The night was colder than usual, even for late October. The streets were empty, drenched in fog that swirled around the flickering orange streetlights. I had just moved into this neighborhood a week ago, and tonight was my first Halloween here. The houses around me were dark, except for one, my next-door neighbor's place. The old house looked alive, glowing faintly from its windows, though I could have sworn no one had lived there for years. Kids in costumes used to fill the streets every Halloween, but tonight there wasn't a single one, just silence and the sound of my own footsteps crunching on dry leaves. I stopped in front of the neighbor's house, drawn to the flicker of light behind the curtains. There was something about that glow, soft, yellow, like candlelight, that pulled me closer. I hesitated for a second, then stepped onto the porch. The wood groaned under my weight. A faint sound came from inside, a slow, dragging noise, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. I froze, then suddenly the front door creaked open by itself. Inside, the air was thick and stale. Dust floated in the faint light. I called out, "Hello? Anyone home?" No answer. The room was filled with old furniture covered in white sheets, cobwebs stretching from the ceiling to the walls. A single candle burned on the table, its flame trembling as if someone had just walked past it. Then I noticed something odd. Footprints. Small, wet footprints leading from the doorway to the hallway at the back. They looked recent. I followed them slowly, my heart pounding louder with every step. The hallway was narrow and dark, and at the end of it stood a tall mirror. The footprints stopped right in front of it. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the mirror flickered, just for a split second. I saw movement inside it, a shadow. My breath caught as I stepped closer. My reflection looked wrong. It was smiling even though I wasn't. The candle in my hand flickered violently. I turned around, but the hallway was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, my reflection was gone. Low hum builds. Something whispered my name from behind the mirror. I stumbled back, shaking. The air turned icy. I could see my breath. Then out of nowhere, a small hand pressed against the other side of the glass. Pale, childlike, leaving a foggy print. I ran. The front door slammed shut before I could reach it. Every light in the house turned off at once, plunging everything into darkness. I fumbled for my phone flashlight, my fingers trembling. When the light came on, I nearly screamed. The footprints were back, leading up the staircase now. I followed them again, stupidly. The steps groaned under my feet. Halfway up, I heard something whisper, "Don't remember." I froze. The air was heavy, pressing against my chest. At the top of the stairs was a long hallway lined with closed doors. From behind one, faint music played. An old tune, something from a broken music box. I reached for the doorknob, hand shaking. The moment I touched it, the music stopped. Silence. Then a soft knock came from inside the room. Once, twice, 3 times. My phone light flickered, the door opened by itself. Inside, the room was filled with toys. Dolls with cracked faces, rocking horses, and a small bed in the corner. On the bed sat a doll that looked almost human. Porcelain skin, glassy eyes, and a faded red dress. It was holding a small pumpkin bucket, the kind kids used for trick-or-treating. Then it spoke. "Do you remember last Halloween?" I stumbled back. The voice didn't come from the doll. It came from behind me. I spun around, but no one was there. When I turned back, the doll's head was facing me now, even though I hadn't touched it. Its eyes blinked. Once. Twice. Music box sound fades back in. The walls began to shake. The pictures hanging in the hallway outside crashed to the ground. The candlelight downstairs flared bright through the cracks in the floorboards. I backed into the corner, clutching my phone like it was the only thing keeping me alive. The doll's mouth opened, and from it came a whisper. Dozens of voices layered together. "You shouldn't have come back." The floorboards groaned, and a shadow stretched across the room, long, thin, and crawling toward me. I screamed and bolted out of the room. down the hallway, tripping over fallen frames and shattered glass. The whispering followed me, growing louder, like it was inside my head. I reached the front door again and yanked it open. Cold night air hit my face. I ran out into the fog, gasping for breath, not daring to look back. The house behind me stood perfectly still, silent again, like nothing had happened. But when I got to my own front porch, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A small pumpkin bucket sitting by my door, the same one the doll had been holding. Inside, it was a single note. It said, "Welcome back, neighbor." Music fades, deep heartbeat sound rises. That night, I locked every door, shut every window, and tried to convince myself it was all just a dream. But when I checked my phone, I noticed something strange. The flashlight app was still running, but the timer said it had been on for over 3 hours. And the last photo in my gallery was a picture of me standing in front of the neighbor's mirror, smiling. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind made me flinch. The pumpkin bucket sat on the table across from me, still and harmless. But I couldn't take my eyes off it. Something about it felt wrong, like it was waiting for me to open it again. At 3:07 a.m., my phone buzzed. No caller ID, just a single message. Trick or treat, neighbor. My chest tightened. I dropped the phone and backed away from the table. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. I was left standing in complete darkness, the only sound being the faint ticking of the wall clock. Though it didn't sound like ticking anymore, it sounded like footsteps. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it toward the table. The pumpkin bucket was gone. I spun around, my pulse racing. Then I saw it, sitting on the floor near the hallway, open now. Inside was a small piece of paper, folded neatly. I crouched down, hands shaking, and opened it. It read, "You forgot what happened last year." I froze. My mind raced, trying to recall anything. A party, a trick-or-treating memory, a face, but there was nothing. My last Halloween felt like a blur, as if it had been erased. A sudden creak behind me made me spin. The mirror in the living room, the one ID brought with me from my old apartment, was glowing faintly blue. For a moment, I could see something moving inside it. Not my reflection, something behind it. I stepped closer, my breath fogging the glass, and then I saw him, Danny. He was standing inside the mirror, eyes hollow and mouth half open. His skin looked grey, wet, like he'd been buried for years. He raised his hand slowly and pressed it against the other side of the glass. His voice echoed in my head, even though his mouth didn't move. "You left me there." My flashlight flickered. I stumbled back, shaking my head. "No, you're dead. I saw you." The glass cracked, once, twice, then shattered, spraying shards across the room. I shielded my face, and when I looked again, the mirror was gone. Only the empty frame remained, and inside it, darkness. A moving, breathing darkness. Low rumbling sound builds. The shadows inside the frame started crawling outward, spilling onto the floor like black smoke. They spread across the walls, moving toward me with unnatural speed. I ran for the door, but it slammed shut before I could touch it. The shadows formed hands, dozens of them, stretching toward me. I screamed and turned toward the stairs, bolting up to my room. I locked the door behind me, chest heaving. The whispering was everywhere now. My name, again and again, in voices that weren't human. Then silence. For a full minute, nothing happened. I stood there in the dark, trying to catch my breath. Then slowly the doorknob started to turn, back and forth, softly at first, then faster, harder, until it rattled violently. I backed away, clutching my phone. "Please," I whispered, "leave me alone." Then a voice from the other side whispered back. My own voice. "Too late, neighbor." The door burst open, but no one was there. Just the hallway, dark, endless. I took a step forward, and suddenly the hallway didn't look like my house anymore. The wallpaper was old, torn. The air smelled of burnt wood and rot. I realized where I was, back in the neighbor's house. I was standing in front of the same mirror again, unbroken, its surface rippling like water. The reflection wasn't mine this time. It showed the house burning, flames crawling up the walls, children screaming inside, and in the middle of the fire, I saw myself, holding a candle, smiling. I screamed and threw the flashlight at the mirror. It shattered, and everything went dark again. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the cold ground outside. Dawn was breaking. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A new message. See you tonight. Soft ambient hum. That evening, I tried to convince myself it had all been a hallucination. I called my sister, my friends, anyone who would answer, but no one picked up. It was like the world had forgotten me. Even my reflection looked tired, older somehow. My skin was pale, my eyes sunken. I looked like I hadn't slept in weeks. At 6:13 p.m., there was a knock at the door. I froze. 3 knocks, a pause, 2 more. The same rhythm from the neighbor's porch light. My hands trembled as I reached for the handle. I opened the door just a crack, but no one was there. Only the fog rolling slowly across the street. I stepped outside. The neighborhood was silent again. The streetlights flickered and the air grew colder. That's when I saw them. 3 children in old-fashioned Halloween costumes stood at the end of the driveway. A skeleton, a ghost, and a scarecrow. Their masks were cracked and faded, and none of them were moving. Each held a pumpkin bucket, glowing faintly from inside. "Trick or treat," they whispered in perfect unison. I blinked, and they were gone. Only the buckets remained, sitting neatly on the pavement. I backed away slowly, my breath catching in my throat. Then one of the buckets began to slide toward me, scraping across the ground on its own. I turned and ran inside, slamming the door shut. The lights flickered again. My phone buzzed on the table. A photo message. It was me, standing on the porch just now, but in the picture someone was standing behind me, tall, shadowy, with long arms and no face. The caption under the image read, "We remember." The power cut out. Everything went silent. In the pitch dark, I heard the sound of something dragging across the floorboards. Slow, steady, getting closer. I turned on my flashlight and froze. The front door was wide open, and carved into the wood, written in jagged letters, were the words, "Welcome home." Music builds, faint whispering continues. That was the night I realized the truth. I hadn't moved into a new neighborhood. I had moved back to where it all started. Morning came, but the light didn't help. The house still felt cold, like it hadn't seen daylight in years. Every corner seemed darker than it should be, as if the shadows refused to leave. I hadn't slept. My eyes burned, my head throbbed, and every sound made me jump. I tried to pack my things, clothes, phone charger, anything I could grab, but every time I looked away, something was different. The clock on the wall stopped ticking. The photographs on the counter, the ones of me and my friends, were blank, just white paper in cracked frames. Then I noticed something worse. There were big footprints on the floor. Wet, muddy footprints leading from the front door to the hallway. I hadn't gone outside. I followed them slowly, every muscle in my body tense. They led me to the living room, to the mirror frame that had shattered the night before, but now it was back, whole again, hanging perfectly on the wall, as if nothing had ever happened. Only this time, the reflection wasn't showing me or the room. It showed the neighbor's porch, and on it was me. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. The image in the mirror tilted slightly, like the reflection itself had stepped closer. Then the other me smiled, slow, crooked, wrong. The whisper came again. "Trick or treat, neighbor." The glass rippled, My reflection lifted its hand and pressed it to the inside of the mirror. A faint black liquid started leaking down from where its fingers touched, spreading like ink. I turned to run, but the walls shifted. The hallway stretched longer than it was before, doors appearing where there hadn't been any. Each one creaked open a little, just enough to show darkness inside. From within, whispers crawled out. Some sounded like children laughing, others like crying. I ran for the door, but when I grabbed the handle, it wasn't a handle anymore. It was a hand, cold, wet, gripping mine tightly. I screamed and pulled back. The house echoed with it, the walls groaning like they were alive. The air felt heavier now, filled with the faint smell of burnt pumpkins and earth. From the living room, I heard faint scratching, slow, deliberate, like nails on wood. I turned and saw the pumpkin bucket sitting on the table again. It was full this time, overflowing with teeth, human teeth, and buried among them was my phone, still vibrating. I hesitated before picking it up. The screen was cracked, but still on. One message glowed at the top. "You're late." Static distortion builds slowly. Then came the knock, 3 times, loud, heavy, from inside the wall. My chest tightened. The wall itself began to bulge, bending inward like something was pressing from the other side. The wallpaper tore open, and behind it I saw eyes. Dozens of them, dark, glassy, unblinking. And then a face started to form. A child's face, pale, thin, mouth sewn shut with black thread. It tilted its head slowly, watching me. "Please," I whispered, backing away. "What do you want?" The mouth twitched, the thread tore open, and the voice that came out wasn't a child's, it was mine. To remember. The lights burst, the house shook. Every door slammed shut at once, the sound echoing like thunder. I dropped to my knees, clutching my head as the whispers filled the room, louder now. Hundreds of voices all saying the same words over and over again. "Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home." The noise stopped. Silence. Then slowly I heard footsteps coming down the stairs, heavy, slow, deliberate. Each step made the floor groan. I looked up. It was Danny, or what was left of him. His skin was gray, his eyes hollow sockets that wept black tears. He was holding something in his hand, a single candle burning with a blue flame. As he stepped closer, the air grew colder. The walls behind him warped, and the mirror started reflecting fire again. He stopped right in front of me, tilting his head like he was studying me. "You forgot, didn't you?" he whispered. I shook my head, trembling. "Forgot what?" His mouth curved into a grin. "You promised." The floor beneath me cracked. The wood split apart, revealing a dark void underneath, deep and endless. From inside, dozens of pale hands reached out, grabbing my legs, pulling me down. I screamed and clawed at the floorboards, but Danny just watched, his candle flickering. Then he said the words I'll never forget. "We waited for you." The floor gave way, sudden silence, heartbeat sound. When I opened my eyes, I was outside again, standing on the street, the house behind me perfectly quiet, perfectly normal. No damage, no broken glass, no footprints. Just an empty porch and a flickering light. For a moment, I thought it was over, until I looked down at my hands. They were covered in ash, and then I saw the reflection again, in a passing car window. Behind me stood the house. Burning, low rumble builds as sound fades into wind. Every Halloween since that night, I get the same message at 3:07 a.m. No number, no name, just 3 words. Trick or treat. And sometimes, when the wind is quiet enough, I can still hear it. The sound of footsteps just above me, waiting. Static fades out completely.